If you get a tax refund, are you using that refund to help you make progress in your financial life, or potentially is it a missed opportunity? I've got my favorite way of using tax refunds. That and more coming up. Do you expect to get a tax refund this year or maybe every year? If so, what is your plan with that refund? Listen, if you choose to use your refund to buy the new TV or the furniture or for a vacation, that's totally fine, right? That's totally fine. The question really is, are you using the refund to help you make progress in your financial life, or is it a missed opportunity? And the new TV, the new furniture, the vacation, or whatever it is, those are examples of short-term goals. And so very, very well could be that you're using a refund for one of those purposes for a short-term goal, and it's very much aligned with helping you make progress in your financial life. This is something that you were going to do. Maybe you were saving up for it in what we call our 3 bank account system. Hopefully you were doing that. And the tax refund's an accelerant to help you get there faster. What we want to avoid, though, is well, we didn't really need this, but we did this anyway. In the short term, that can feel good, but in the long term, it can feel like, there's some regret there. We didn't need the new TV. We didn't need the new furniture. We didn't need the XYZ, but gosh, we did it and it was sort of spontaneous and we had the money and so we just did it. And so, well, yeah, again, that in the short term can feel all right, can feel good, but in the long term can be a missed opportunity. Early in my career, I was meeting with a young couple that had aggressive retirement goals, and their savings habits didn't quite align with how aggressive that goal was. I'll just tell you, he wanted to retire at age 55. She wanted to retire not too long after that, and their current savings levels had them on pace to retire in their mid to late 60s. And so there was a disconnect. Well, as we were kind of working through that, building some plans and looking at all 6 areas of their financial life, we got to their taxes, and I said, guys, you tend to get a pretty big refund. Is there a reason for that? Is that intentional? Again, we were just getting started, and the refund was between $5,000 and $6,000 every single year. Well, they went on and shared that early on, when they just got married, they had no money, and they did their taxes and got a tax bill. They owed a couple grand, it might have been, a couple $1 million at that time. They said it was absolute panic. They had no money and they had to owe the government in a surprise. And so they structured their withholdings. They changed them so that they'd get between $1,000 and $2,000 refund every year. Well, then they had kids. And those kids create tax credits. You don't have the kids for the tax benefits. They cost way more than that. Trust me, I've got three of them. But they had kids, and those kids had some child tax credits and some other things. So all of a sudden, they went from this $1,500 to $2,000 refund up to that $5,000 or $6,000 refund every year. And they thought, well, this isn't a tax surprise. It's a good thing, so we're fine. So here's what we did. We did the math to say, well, how much would you need to be saving into your 403Bs? They both worked for nonprofits, into your 403Bs to get on the right glide path to be able to make retiring at 55 or in your mid to late 50s even a realistic possibility. And where could those resources come from? And it was moving their 403B contributions from the level that they were at and almost doubling them. Okay. And so this $5,000 to $6,000 I shared that they were getting as a tax refund, and I don't think they were squandering it. I'm not sure exactly what they were using it for, but I said, where we could get that cash flow from is we could adjust your withholdings down so that you had much less withheld. We'd use those dollars instead of just expanding your take-home pay. So instead of getting a big refund, you get bigger checks. We actually increase your contributions to your 403B with those dollars, and guess what that does? That has more money going into your 403Bs, but because at the time, this was 15, almost 20 years ago, that, because your 403B is pre-tax, you would actually still be able to get $1,000 to $1,500 refund. It just wouldn't be as big as before, but you'd be contributing much more towards your retirement. They loved it. And they said, with the analysis that we did on their taxes, they feel better that they weren't going to encounter a big tax surprise. And so that's what we did. We used their tax refund in a roundabout way, because we adjusted withholdings, to help them accelerate towards their long-term goals using additional tax shelters. And I'll tell you guys, it's been, I don't know exactly, 15, maybe 20 years. He retired. last year at 55. And his goal, he's got a pension, and his goal was to retire, but then still work a little bit part-time. And he's doing that. And so some of you might say, well, that's not really retirement. He's working part-time. Yeah, but he's drawing his pension and he's working part-time as much as he wants to or as little as he wants to. And she's still a couple years away from retiring, but they're on track. I wouldn't say 100% due to this move, but definitely it contributed and it helped a lot over the past, 1 to 2 decades. Guys, my favorite way to use a tax refund is to redeploy those dollars back into tax shelters, to redeploy your tax refund back into tax shelters. Sometimes it does create or require this fancy footwork and a lot of the proactive planning like this, where you can reduce withholdings, increase 401k contributions, and get things sheltered that way. And that's a great plan. But other times it's much more simple. Okay, we've got your completed tax return. As we're going through the return, it looks like you're getting a $3,000 refund. Hey, listen, before we file this return, before we sign it and finalize it, you didn't max out your HSA. Would you like to use some of this refund and sort of pinky swear right now when we file your return that you'll actually contribute, call it $2,000 more or whatever to your HSA to max it out? And then what that will do is that will move this refund from $3,000 up to, say, $3,500, something like that. Oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And then let's file the return, assuming that that's what you do. And then when you get that $3,500 refund, make sure you use $2,000, throw it into the HSA for last year and top it off. That's an example. Same with contributing to a pre-tax or a deductible IRA for the previous year for before you file your return. Same with Roth IRA. Same with the SEP IRA if you've got self-employed income. Those are all options where you can look at your refund, look at your completed return before you finalize it and say, well, is there something I can do with this refund, redirect it back into a tax shelter to sort of double the benefits, right? To take this refund and put it back into a tax shelter to improve your tax picture right now or reduce your taxes out there in the future. So, are you set to receive a tax refund this year? Hopefully you know, right? Tax planning, which is one of the 6 areas of your financial life, is not tax preparation. Tax planning is the proactive work to identify strategies for you to improve your tax picture, paying the least amount of tax over your lifetime. Sometimes that's the least amount of tax this year. Sometimes, though, it's paying some tax this year so that you can avoid taxes in the future, Roth IRA, Roth conversions, those sorts of things. But part of tax planning is also avoiding tax surprises. So do you have the right tax planning so that you know what to expect when you get your taxes done so there's no tax surprise, and that you're taking advantage of the right tax planning opportunities? If so, and you're expecting a refund, love the idea of parlaying that refund back into tax shelters. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K. WiseMoneyShow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.